Hello and welcome. This is an exciting day because I had a viewer who's playing here under the name Trey send in this replay from Dawn of War Soulstorm, the Ultimate Apocalypse mod. So today we are going to be watching the Ork gameplay against this team of computers and seeing how that goes. We have here our hero Trey building the Orks. Starting off with Du Bois' hut. For those who haven't played Dawn of War multiplayer, essentially what you do, you have to go to these strategic points. That gets you more money, which you can then use to build more boys. We have our first set of Slugger boys. Excellent music, I gotta say. We have Gretchens for the ally. Nothing crazy going on here. This set of Slugger boys is going to get this strategic point. Okay, everything pretty normal so far. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the enemies are doing. We have one set of Tau, and what is this? I can't even tell what faction this is. Looks like some sort of chaosy faction. So Chaos and Tau against the Orks. Of course, we're going to root for the Orks in this case. Here are these Gretchens, which are the Warhammer 40k equivalent of goblins. They appear to be building a listening post. Here we go. We might start to have some early skirmishes. You can see that the enemies are quite close to this front line of Orks.
Sod off.
Now, one thing that Trey is doing that's a bit interesting is keeping these Slugger boys in groups of 4. Because in this game you can add more squad members to make these much bigger units, but by keeping them small, Trey's able to save money, use it on other things, and still use a unit in order to capture these strategic points. Because you do need a unit to capture, it doesn't matter how many of the boys are in the unit. Was that an enemy right there? It's hard to tell. You see some good expansion of the Orks here, just about halfway across the map, dropping in these listening posts, which give more money and do defend as well. They're kind of like towers. Here we have these evil computers, the baddies. We have the first battle here. Slugger boys are closing in on these stealth suits. Now, I'm not sure if these mandrakes are better than the Slugger boys. Slugger boys seem to not actually be shooting. Come on, boys. There we go. Much better. As soon as the boys are actually fighting, you can see they're significantly larger and stronger than these Chaos Worshippers. Easy win for the boys. But we've got some more battles going on here. Slugger boys are now chasing down this Earth cast builder. That's a Tau worker unit. And we also have a big mech over here, who's quite an expensive unit, who's caught a little bit in this crossfire. Hopefully he can make it out safely. Another group of Shuda and Slugger boys. Slugger boys have axes, Shuda boys have bigger guns. Doing some nice damage to this listening post here. The big mech only has 168 health left. Fortunately, it's just the scout speeder chasing down who's going to get distracted by the listening post. And here we have another battle here. Wow, that was a lot of damage from this XV-22 commander. You can see the boys still have a little bit of health each. Got some more boys on the way over here. This critical location being captured by, it looks like says computer 1, team 1. I'm not sure if that's the ally. Yeah, it is the ally. Okay. Good. So this is the heroic computer. Shooter boys continuing to push forward. This is looking like a really good first couple of engagements here from our hero, who is Trey, of course. Let's take a look at the Tau base. Tortured slave and an Earthcast builder just kind of standing around. Got a bunch of tortured slaves sitting around here. And what is this? 3 units of mandrakes. I wonder if we'll see those get into the battlefield any second now. But this is the Orc way, just continuing to send unit after unit into the fray. This big mech, amazingly, is still alive. You'll see here, and it's hard to tell the difference between Trey's shooter boys and the computer's shooter boys, so I'm not going to bother. Just know that they're the boys. All the Orcs are on a team. Here's this commander unit. You can see has quite a lot of health, but surrounded by the boys, it's not going to be that long before it goes down, I think, although these mandrakes are doing quite a bit of damage. I'm wondering if we're going to see any sort of tech coming out from Trey here. You can see lots of generators. That gives secondary resource energy to build higher tech units. But I'm not seeing any higher tech units yet. The computer has built a ridiculous number of Gretchens. That is not actually useful. But they're continuing to push up at the top here. You can essentially see this is the halfway line of the map, and whoever gets past that will be able to get more resources from the map and therefore eventually get a bigger army and win. But the first wave of Orks was pushed back. This neutral location here is the big fight. Whoever gets this is eventually going to get a pretty good advantage because it seems to be right in the middle of the map. These Kroot carnivores and mandrakes are chasing back these slugger boys. Unfortunately, the last slugger boy does go down. Now it looks like Trey is starting to add more squad members. So these shooter boys, now there's 6 in this unit instead of just 4 like that spawns with it. Still not seeing anything particularly high-tech coming down here. Here we have a couple units. Looks like both of shooter boys building another WA banner. That's going to be big here. This gives big good effects to the Orks, and the number of WA points goes up the more Orks you have and the more WA banners you have. Again, that was such huge damage coming out of this XV-22 commander. Or maybe it was out of the scout speeder, but it looked like it was coming from the commander. It's hard to say. I only play Orks. And what I'm not seeing here is any knob leaders. Knobs are individual Orks that are a bit more powerful than the rest of their group, which could really help against things like this commander unit. Pushing forward to take out this listening post is good. Once again, really threatening to get past this halfway line. And once that happens, it should snowball, but this XV-22 commander unit continuing to hold things off very strongly. These shooter boys here are getting fended off by the Tetra Scout Speeder on top of this listening post, and unfortunately these reinforcing shooter boys are killed by the XV-22 commander. We have quite a few units hanging out over here, 2 groups of shooter boys, and I'm not seeing yet any higher tier units. Not seeing any mechs, any looted tanks, no bikes. So there are lots of units that could help break through this stalemate, but right now it looks like Trey and his Orc buddy are continuing to just go for lots of shooter boys. which is not a bad idea. The shooter boys are very, very strong given their cost, and it does let you save up resources to tech up your main building here and to eventually get things that are better that I was mentioning earlier.
Where's the fight?
The Tau also do not seem to be teching up very much. This XV-22 commander is doing ridiculously well until we get 3 full units of shooter boys here, and that does gonna drive the commander back. These Mandrakes coming in, but in melee, they're really no match for the boys. Now you see here, this bar is recruiting another boy into the unit. So right now there are 6, now there are 7 boys to the unit. So that's really important. By having enough money, Trey is able to continuously reinforce directly at the front line. But if the unit as a whole dies, obviously you have to rebuild it from your base. Here we have an Archon commander who is doing a really good job at standing up to these boys. Still has 650 health. It's going to be tough to say, but it looks like that XV-22 commander unit, once again with this devastating AoE attack, is going to fend off the boys yet again. I wonder if Trey's forgotten about these shooter boys here, because they've been here for quite some time, and they would have been able to turn the tide against this commander unit and the Archon over here. Now we have some Hellions coming out. Looks like these are very fast vehicles. In general, for those who haven't played this game, vehicles are not able to capture these important points. You need to use infantry to do it. Of course, the vehicles can help you punch through the enemy infantry so that your own infantry can get to a listening post, but the computers wouldn't be able to, for example, send this Reaver jet bike over here to capture this listening post alone. Lots of damage there. Luckily, between the 2 Wa banners and this listening post, the Orks are easily going to turn this attack back. Well, with this Archon coming in here, it is possible that he's strong enough to turn the tide. You can see he is doing quite a bit of damage to that, but he's just about at half health now. We'll see if this homunculus will be able to help. No, it looks like the Archon is going to have to turn around. Okay. Unfortunately, these shooter boys are still lost. Once again, this big mech from the ally computer is coming. Slugger boys from Trey. You can see here, Trey's at 34 supply. The ally here is only at 13. The enemies are at 2 and 6, respectively. So Trey has a lot of military force, but it's all here. It's all in these 2 shooter boys, and Trey seems to have forgotten about them. Luckily, these allied slugger boys brought these enemy scout speeder into these 2 groups of shooter boys. And that's going to be an easy win there, absolutely destroying that whole enemy army. Here's Trey. Lots of slugger boys, it seems. He's moved away from the shooters for a bit. And his commander is finally going to go down. Now, like many games, your commander unit is not permanently dead, so the Tau will be able to rebuild. But this is a huge opportunity to potentially push forward and gain some more territory to get more resources. One thing you can see as well is Trey has upgraded these slugger boys with Burnas, which is a really effective morale weapon. So it's good against infantry, and it makes things more likely to run away. Looks like a couple of these units have the Burnas upgraded. Not these ones here, but you can see the 5 here, and it's 5 Burnas on each of these slugger boys. And once again, we have these 2 shooter boys. This would be the difference in the battle. Trey would have won the game if he remembered those. Doing good damage to this listening post. Looks like it is gonna just barely go down. 400 health left. It's smart from Trey to actually right-click on this here. Make sure that that dies despite the Fire Warriors and Pathfinders doing damage here. Because that's going to be a pretty significant dent to the income of that computer. One thing that's good about the Burnas as well, you can see that as the Slugger Boys move in, the Burnas are still firing. So there's no setup time. It's a bit easier as an upgraded weapon in order to use them. Now we have a counterattack here. Or what looks like it was a counterattack, but it's only these 2 Reaver jet bikes left. Oh, they did manage to hold it off. Alright, I wasn't sure if between these boys and the big mech that would work. Here we have these 2 very large groups of Slugger Boys. You can see Trey's doing a really good job at continuing to add more squad members over and over again. They're continuing to push forward on this left flank. I really would like to see a military unit go capture this strategic point for Trey. That would be another way to use the fact that you have the territory in order to get further ahead. But I understand that you're commanding Orks. What you really want to do is just charge forward with all the boys and have a good time. Taking out another listening post. Huge. But decides to turn around. Not going to engage these Fire Warriors. This 41 supply, again, so painful. Because these units here would very easily be able to help push through these defenses. We have this mark in the center here. These witches are taking over this critical location. We'll see if this is enough boys in order to take out the defenses. Listening post. Looks like witches and one of whatever that vehicle was. Another Reaver jet bike. Here we go. Which does have a Craft Fire Blaster upgrade going on. It's a little bit stronger than a normal Reaver jet bike. Even though these Burnas are not very good against vehicles, it's still, if you have enough of them, doing pretty decent damage. And it will help against the witches if Trey can manage to turn around these Slugger Boys to actually fight them. There we go. Looks like he's realized he wants to take out the witches and then he'll worry about the staff defense. Very smart. These Fire Warriors here, it looks like they don't have any of their pulse rifles equipped, which is, I think, a bit of a mistake. Here, these Pathfinders have a rail rifle upgrade going on. What I'd really like to see is some stronger units. Even something like Killacan, which is a small walker, will really help with this. Or, again, using these boys. Now, 18 minutes into the game, I don't remember exactly what time these boys got left here. Slugger Boys continuing to kill. They got this homunculus down to pretty good damage. That's sort of the equivalent of a hero unit if you're thinking in Total War Warhammer terms. I think these 2 Slugger Boy units would be enough in order to actually destroy this, particularly backed up by this big mech from the ally. But for some reason, Trey is disengaging. Maybe it's to help defend this listening post and double Wab banner up here. Very difficult to say. Now, one thing that you need to know about the Tau units is that they are very, very good in range, but very terrible in melee. So the fact that these are Slugger Boys instead of Shooter Boys should help Trey quite a bit. Could close in and ideally really take these out before they can get a lot of their shots off. If I saw that right... Now this, I think this is a big mech right here. I thought maybe this was a knob, but I'm not seeing it here. The Wab banner is now up to 3 A's, so we're halfway done with the Wab banner. Previously it was at 2 A's, last time I mentioned that. Come on, Trey. Remember the boys. Really nice pushback by the Tau commander here. Fighting by this listening post is a big boon on the defense. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a mistake by Trey to engage right there. Should have pulled back just a smidge, taken on this strategic point, maybe gone for this listening post. But it happens in the heat of battle. We have here, it's worth noting that see all these Gretchens, they have one orc who actually watches them to make sure that they work, because otherwise in war the Gretchens would do absolutely nothing. Lots of these Wa banners here generating the Wa. We're up to the G. Now where are the better units? Where are they going down? We have one big mech. Trey's at 42 supply. Let's take a look at the others. Ally is at 2. Wa banner appears to be... I can't tell if this is full or empty. It's all the same color, which is odd. We have here the Tau at 4 units, and the whatever Chaos faction this is at 3 units. Which means Trey has overwhelmingly enough firepower in order to push through. But he doesn't know. He's being really passive. There's a bunch, 3 or 4 groups of Slugga boys here, 2 groups of Shooter boys, once again. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is a knob leader here. He started to add knobs. See the ones that are a little bit bigger and spikier? No knob leaders on this one yet. But at least these 2 have knob leaders, which means that Trey is aware of those units. I guess he just is keeping them there deliberately in order to defend the resources, which is not a bad idea, but some of these battles are so close, I really wish that he would bring in these Shooter boys. Slugga boys pushing forward. Now this is pod racing. No, I'm just kidding. This is the Wa. We've got commandos coming in from the ally. Really excellent heavy infantry. Slugga boys coming in. We should be able to take out this listening post. I say we, like I'm one of the orcs. Trey should be able to take out the listening post, no problem. We have Tetra Scout Speeder running away. Listening post is not taking damage very quickly. It looks like there's some control issues here where half of the boys are going off on their own to chase, and half of them are going after the listening post. Here we go, these commandos are taking out this critical location, this one right in the center of the map, which I keep saying is one of the most important places on the map. There is a Devilfish troop transport here. The Burnas are not going to be very effective against it. You really need Shooter boys in order to deal with those flyers. The listening post here is doing a very slight amount of damage, but the Devilfish troop transport just out of range. Commando is taking out this listening post here. This is a huge number of orcs crushing through this listening post defensive position. Scout Speeder has to run away or it's going to die. Even though a single Burna is not very good against the vehicle, when you have this many, it's still going to go down quite quickly. And one of the issues you can see here is the requisition is quite low for Trey, but there's a ton of power going on. So there's an imbalance there because there aren't a whole lot of high-tier units getting built. And so there needs to be a way. There is an upgrade on the listening post, which gives you more income if you have a lot of power. I don't know if Trey's gotten that yet. It won't let me see it. But unfortunately, Trey has walked this army of boys straight into a crossfire of Fire Warriors and Pathfinders, plus this Piranha Skimmer, and the boys have basically all died, back down from 65 to 25 supply. Commanders are doing well here. Unfortunately, once again, the allies did not finish capturing this critical location. So this right here, if Trey and the boys could hold this, would be a huge income boost, which would then enable further pushing down into the base. Boys get founded off again. This is actually pretty lore accurate. There's way more boys than anything else, but they do keep getting pushed away. You can see in the upper left here, there are a couple of vehicles on the enemy side. Not on Chaos side, but Tau has 3 supply worth of vehicles, and Trey has no vehicles. Wa is fully red, so we got the full Wa available both for Trey and his ally. Wondering if there's going to be some explosion of troops or something in order to make use of that resource. Once again, these shooter boys easily able to fend off any kind of attack there. It's almost like a siege type of situation. But again, there's just so much power here that could be used to push forward and just take out this neutral location. Hellions here are going to go into this crossfire. The war truck is not a combat vehicle, so it's got to run away. But the two shooter boy units here are going to be able to take out most of the stuff pretty easily. Do they have much in the way of upgrades? They do have big shooters, which gives them a bit more punch. Still mostly against infantry, but over time it'll do damage to the vehicles as well. This Reaver jet bike has no chance against these two Wa banners and the listening post. You can see it's pulling away now. Barely escapes with its life. This Devilfish troop transport is really, really tanky. It's doing decent damage, but without anything to back it up, I don't think it's going to be able to do all that much. The enemy computers are not taking this critical location either, so neither side is getting the requisition resource from right there. Really, really surprising. Here we go. This is exactly what I was waiting for from Trey. We've got the kilocans. So these walkers are doing two things. One, using the power resource, and two, using the vehicle cap instead of the orc cap. So that's going to enable him to build a much larger army. And their stats are way better. You can see here 2,400 health and 348 to 426 damage compared to a group of boys 12 to 14 damage. Obviously you have 10 boys at a time, but even so, this kilocan is going to do a lot more damage. These Devilfish troop transports are starting to become a really big problem for Trey. These shooter boys need to come in from the back and deal with it, but instead of that, we have 5 kilocans coming through, 2,400 HP each, several hundred damage a shot. Who's this? This Archon commander has come in here. It does have the ability to move shoot as well. It's doing very, very little damage to these kilocans. Oh, but look at this. We've got an XV-88 broadside battle suit. Very, very interesting. Looks like the kilocans were able to deal with those enemy vehicles very quickly. Now they're going to move on to the XV-88 battle suit. And this here is pretty classic defense in depth type of situation, where you have multiple lines from multiple angles of defenders. The thing is, with these 4 kilocans, because one of them has died, I think they still should be able to punch through. They definitely could punch through with those extra shooter boys. Come on, Trey. You can do it. Looks like they're just barely going to get that battle suit. The witches here are taking quite a bit of damage, but between the witches and this listening post, plus a couple of Reaver jet bikes and the fire warriors, I don't think this kilocan is going to be able to do enough to kill this whole army. The ally war truck is coming up. Unfortunately, even though it does do some damage, it doesn't have any troops in it, which is really one of the benefits of trucks. So I think it's also going to get surrounded and destroyed here. Maybe it'll be able to pull back to these shooter boys. Looks like it will. We'll see how determined the enemies are in order to push that down. Looks like they left it alone and decided to engage the shooter boys instead. Pretty reasonable. This is a lot of Wa banners. And a lot of generators. Really well developed base in terms of income, but only Du Bois Hut. what is this here? Boomy platform. This is a big gun. Appears so, but I'm not sure what it's aiming at. Now look at this. The Raider is doing a ton of damage here. I'm not sure that the Raider is strong enough to kill all of these shooter boys, but every one of these shooter boys that Trey has to replace is going to cost them 45 requisition. You could be using to do a bunch more stuff. You don't really want to be using it to repair all of these units over and over again. Damage is not good right now because a lot of these big shooters went down. Archon Commander is also being very problematic. The Crossfire is starting to do quite a bit more damage. It's just under 800 health now. But look, these two shooter boy units, which would have been so valuable early on, just weren't able to really deal with this effectively. The healing on that Archon is absolutely insane. And now look at that. This key central point, which I've been talking about for the last 30 minutes, is under control of the enemy. So now it is an uphill game. It's an uphill battle in order for Trey to actually get this to be a win. Really needs some anti-armor. These Devilfish troop transports are so tanky. They're providing just so much damage soak for these other units. And now, total disaster. Trey is losing this strategic point. The Raider is still fighting, keeping now 3 units of boys engaged, plus this war truck, which is giving the enemies lots of time to get into position and build more of these XV-88 broadside battle suits. There's another one. Really tough spot here. I'm actually not sure how the Orks will be able to hold on to this, or if they will be able to hold on to it. We've got these witches here chasing the war truck, just barely get away. Really need to get some Gretchen on that to repair it. 68 health, 1 away from nice. Witches are going to come in. They will die very easily in close combat to the Slugger boys. But you can see here that the Tau are really pushing their range superiority. And it's really difficult for any of these defensive positions to actually do very much of anything.
He's not going back to that slaughter.
These Slugger boys are going to try to do a little push out here to take out this battle suit plus these Pathfinders. Don't think they have enough to do it. Maybe with this war truck, it's possible. It's going to be difficult. The other thing is, I don't think that these boomy platforms are able to shoot inside the fog of war here. Oh, it looks like they are, actually. That was a big hit. So maybe this is going to be a hold. Let's take a look at the overall supply. Trey has 8. The ally has 0 but 2 vehicles. Enemies have 6 and 1 vehicle and 6 and 3 vehicles. So total, it's 12 and 4 versus 9 and 2. So the Orks are outnumbered right now, which is obviously not the position that you want to be in. This troop transport continuing to just push this line forward, little by little. The Reaver jet bike got absolutely smashed by whatever this is. I guess it's just, maybe it's an upgraded WA banner? Either way, that was basically a 3-shot. Witches are coming in, they're going to go after these Gretchen here, which you can fight with, although they're not very good. My big concern, oh, here we go. We've got an Ork war boss. This is the answer to that Archon that we saw earlier. If you can bring the war boss over and take out the enemy commander, that'd be a big help to pushing back towards this center line, where you really do need to get to. You can see insane stats, 5,500 health, 428 damage, 239 range damage. This thing hits harder than the frickin' Killicans did. Of course, you can only build one at a time, but still, really, really powerful infantry unit. Not too much money in the bank, unfortunately. Part of this is because Trey's been spending a lot of money on rebuilding the same few boys over and over again in this battle, and part of it is because when Trey was on the attack, this space didn't get captured, this didn't get captured, and this didn't get captured. Those extra 3 command points for the critical locations would make a huge difference towards the overall money that's in the bank right now. And I'm starting to get pretty concerned for the Orks. I really don't know where they go from here. These commandos are quite strong units, but if you look at this super nasty crossfire, it's like 180 degrees of troop transport, plus a Tower of Loathing, plus fire warriors. Really, really tough to push through that without a huge number of boys. The computer allies gotta get the war boss into the battle. I really would like to see Trey build some higher tech units again. The kilocans were great. You have 900 power. Please build 2 or 3 kilocans from this mech shop here. You can use that to punch through, try to go get a flank on these, and potentially retake some territory. Here's the other issue. These generators, over time, you can see 4 of the 6 of them have decayed, which means this power income is going to get worse and worse and worse. How are things looking at for the ally? Once again, a bunch of decayed or mostly decayed generators. Not too much in the way of troops. Somehow, I'm not sure how, this one group of boys has pushed back these fire warriors. And what's that doing is the AI is pulling back all of its vehicles. So this could be a really good distraction if the Orks had the wherewithal in order to push forward here and retake that structure. But it looks like they don't. Here's this homunculus here. It's going to get absolutely wrecked by this war boss and Big Mech. Look at that damage. That was like a third of health in one hit. Another hit there. Homunculus is gone. Hopefully this war boss can close in and deal with this raider as well. We've got a kill can from Trey. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. War boss can tank a lot of this stuff, but you can see really long-range hits coming down. Or maybe that's a hit going this way. Oh yeah, never mind. I thought that the tower was shooting from cross-map. Kill-a-can is up and running. The war boss, under 300 health. But it looks like it's somehow managed to avoid taking that last little bit of damage. Maybe I spoke too soon. Is the raider going to kill it? No, the raider's going to escape, so the war boss is going to live another day. The one thing that's good about the war boss and other commanders is you can see it's healing very, very quickly. So the ally computer won't have to spend a bunch more money in order to rebuild this war boss, assuming he keeps it alive right now. There's a huge group of Hellions coming in here. They actually retreated. Craziness. But there's the war boss going down. Ultimately, there's just too many Tau, not enough boys to back up the war boss. Another group of Ork commandos coming out. You can see their stats are about 2 or 3 times better than a regular boy, but there's only a few of them in the group. So we'll see if this commando group can do really much of anything. Reaver Jetbike coming in here. Has very little health, so the commandos are able to kill it very quickly. And the boomy platforms are able to take out this Tower of Loathing. Given a few more shots. I'm not sure if he's okay, it looks like he was focus firing that because they didn't start going after these Hellions here, or the Scourges. One kill-a-can joined by a second kill-a-can. If you could pull this one back and get another squad member, that would be huge. They are expensive, but they're less expensive than building kill-cans by themselves. Manages to hold that back. Just barely. 4 Scourges left on the attack. You can see here, this Great Ork Wa has now gone down to 0 Ork boys. You can see the ally has a ton of these Gretchens and no combat units. No boys, no vehicles. Meanwhile, on the other side, we've got 4 and 1 and 5 and 2. So it's 9 and 3 total against 0 and 4. Really, really disastrous. There's absolutely no Ork on the battlefield. Let's go ahead and speed up a little bit. We got this next battle here. I believe
Stumpy.
it looks like this Heliarch is the leader of the Hellions. Will that make a difference in terms of being able to defeat this Killacan? Looking at the numbers, it looks like not. The Killacan does 348 versus 47, so the Killacan does about 8 times as much damage as these Hellions, even with the Heliarch included, so the Killacan is going to be able to push forward under support of these boomy platforms. However, you win the game ultimately by capturing these strategic points, which gets you enough money to defeat the enemy. There are no Orks on the battlefield. You need Orks in order to capture strategic points. So I'm not sure what Trey has in mind. Let's go ahead and speed up just a little bit again. Looks like 4 more boomy platforms. So here seems like the plan is that Trey has said that the way forward is to build defenses and slowly push forward across the map. Maybe Trey doesn't believe in the ability of the boys to push through some of these choke points that we see up here. Particularly going into the enemy base proper. You can see there are a few. I think this is probably the nastiest checkpoint on the map. Or choke point, rather, not checkpoint. So it's not necessarily a bad idea to use these boomy platforms and do a slow push forward. That's also going to help quite a bit against things like these raiders, because the boomy platforms are much better against armor, whereas something like a Shooter Boy is not fantastic against armor. And the Tau really makes use of their armored vehicles. We have some Scourges coming in here. A singular Killacan, but he's building his rest of the squad members here, which will be really, really important. Which is pretty weak. We have here the Homunculus, so not the enemy commander, but still quite a powerful single unit. War Boss is back up. Something is being built from the boys' hut here, and it's taking a long time, so we can only hope that it's something like a War Boss or Commandos or something. The War Boss plus these 6 boomy platforms are going to be able to hold off whatever that attack was mounting. Really wish we could see some sort of tech coming out from either of the greenskins. Now let's take a look at the army strength again. We still have 0 Orks on the battlefield, but now 4 vehicles. The enemies have 4 and 1 and 0 and 0. So it's 4 infantry and a vehicle against our heroes' 0 infantry and 4 vehicles. Now what that means is that after all this back and forth, as the resources are running low from everybody's generators, Trey has more vehicles, but no infantry. So 4 vehicles should be stronger than what the Tau have right now. We can actually check where their army is. Don't even really see an army. Here it is. We got Pathfinders and Fire Warriors, and that's it. This is the whole of the enemy army, plus this Devilfish troop transport. Chaos is starting to build up again. We got witches over here. I really would like to see boys. You have 2,000 in the bank. Please, Trey. We're going to speed up again. Things have taken so much damage. It's been such a bloody battle that there aren't really any armies to speak of. We've got a big bomber tower coming out here. We'll see what happens with that. A group of Burner Boys. Okay.
Who's ready for surgery?
I like that.
They shooting us.
These witches just came and immediately died to this defense. A group of Scourges is coming in here. I don't think they're going to be able to sneak by. The boomy platforms should be more than enough to turn that back. So here we go, at long last. After so long, we have this computer group of Burner Boys taking out the strategic point. That's really, really important. Because ultimately, the game is going to keep going until one faction is dead. And basically, Trey has made himself invulnerable, but there's still no way to actually kill the enemy without capturing these strategic points. It's also worth noting, look at what the AI did. When you capture a strategic point, first you take it from the enemy, and then you need to take it again to take it for yourself. So what the AI has done is taken this point from the enemy, but hasn't captured it, so that Trey and his ally don't get that extra income, which is going to be a huge problem. Because as I said, they really do need the money. The ally has now 9 units on the map, which I think is basically just these burner boys and the war boss. Here we go. This is a pretty decent size attack. Or is it just these pathfinders trying to reclaim? It looks like that's what it is. Now, the good news is this could be an exploit of the AI. If you leave this capture point unclaimed and the AI keeps sending in units to capture it, then you have your 6 boomy platforms just absolutely obliterate a unit at a time. But you're never going to grind them down, because in this game, the strategic points don't run out of requisition. You just keep getting it. So that's not a way to win, it's just a way to not lose.
They shooting us!
It's a very effective way to not lose. This Archon right here, if the computer was somewhat intelligent and was a human, the Archon would run past directly into the base, undefended by all these boomy towers, and do a lot of damage. There really wouldn't be much that you could do about that without bringing back this war boss. Luckily, however, it just decided to go against all these WA banners and die to those. This war boss is being brave and bold. He's gonna try to take out the entire enemy army alone. Can it do it? I think not. And the reason why is because this arc defense turret is here, plus the listening post, that's 2 turrets, plus 3 distinct units to chase down, and a vehicle. So if they were all right next to each other, the war boss might be able to kill it all. But it's just going to be so much travel time in order to kill all that. And look at this, we suddenly have the Killacan army. Trey has built 6 Killacans to go over and help support this war boss, which is actually huge, because the war boss can capture the critical location, even though the Killacans can't. So we should be able to come in here. 6 Killacans is more than enough to fight this and the Pathfinders. The war boss has taken a lot of damage. Oh, it looks like the war boss is being targeted by the arc defense turret. Actually, the AI's got to pull back this war boss or it's going to die. The war boss goes down. That is a huge blow, because as I said before, vehicles can't capture this point, which means the enemy AI is still going to continue to get resources from it. A little bit fewer resources, because the strategic point without the listening post does give you fewer, but even so, now there's just this defense turret to go down, and then there's this Tower of Loathing up here. But again, it all comes down to these strategic points here in the middle of the map. This is the centermost strategic point. This has to be taken. Look at the money, 3,500 in the bank, only 2 Orks, no vehicles, 2 and 2. But luckily, if you look here, the enemies have also been completely destroyed by this. Only 2 units for the Tau and 3 for Chaos. So we're once again at a really low unit versus unit situation. I'm gonna go ahead and pop up the speed again. Let's see when there's any more development. The defensive structures are still doing really good work. There's absolutely no way for the Tau or Chaos to approach. You can see here, even this powerful commander just got dropped down to half health with just a couple of shots. Looks like the pathfinding is really having a big problem with this cliff, which is certainly convenient for our hero here. Now, where is the way to win, is what I want to know. Congratulations, you have managed to not die. How do you now go kill the Tau and Chaos? These flash gits are quite strong. You can see they do quite a bit more damage than boys. They've got lots of ammunition on their backs. They do quite a bit in ranged. But how do you push forward? How do you do this? Got flash gets here. The ally has 42 troops now on the battlefield. The ally has an insane amount of boys. This is going to be what you want to see. Finally, at long last, they're going for this critical location. Now the real question is, are they going to actually capture it, or are they just going to take it from the enemy? It's really hard to say. What's this being built here? A mech lab. That'll help build another big mech. This is what the ally was fielding very early on in the game. These flash gits took a lot of damage, and look, once again, critical location neutral. The flash gits have not captured it for the greenskins. It looks like they're about to capture it, but then they keep going back, shooting forward and turning around until they all die. Really, really unfortunate. Still 26 troops for the allied computer, including this big mech and this war boss coming along. Now, last time this war boss came and barely died, and there were a lot of troops and a tank or a troop transport to back up these two towers. This time, the war boss, if it goes the right direction, should be able to kill these two towers very easily. Big mech is doing good damage, and we've got war trucks coming out as well.
We're under attack!
There's not really much that the computer has in order to potentially stop this. Trey looks like is continuing now finally to go on the tech up path. Apparently has 2 units, but I can't figure out where they might be. This is really the ally computer now pushing forward. You can see the war boss, as I said, completely crushing through those 2 towers. Now what do you have here? Tortured slaves, no match at all for the biggest greenskins. Now what? Does the computer turn around again? Is the computer going to take any of this territory? Will Trey see the opportunity and take some of the territory? I really don't know. You can see here, at long last, these Ard boys, which are just sort of better boys, are finally raising the flag to take over this crucial critical location that I've been talking about for 45 minutes or so. What is the range on these boomy platforms? Because it seems like they're shooting all the way over here. Yeah, they are. That's actually a really, really good way for this allied orc to advance, because under the watchful eye of the boomy platforms, there's basically nothing that can approach this. So now it's just a slow walk forward. There's an area up there that could be reclaimed, but it seems like the AI is not going to be doing that. This critical location, is it finally going to become orc? It is. Here we go. This is getting towards the end of the game. 29-4. Chaos has nothing left. Tau only has 2 units. So all the AI needs to do is keep pushing forward. Hopefully there's enough strength to get through these static defenses, and we'll see. War truck here, not capturing the strategic point. Again, I think that's a mistake. Also, there's some high ground shenanigans here. It's harder to hit stuff on the high ground, so these shooter boys in war truck are not going to be able to take out this Tower of Loathing. They have to go around and up here. Looks like these flash gits are doing decent damage. They'd be doing more if the cliff wasn't blocking them. And looks like this war boss here is coming in and is now going to be fighting directly in the Tau base, which is huge because there are not a lot of static defenses here. This war boss will be able to absolutely destroy this entire worker line, and it's basically just this XV-88 broadside battle suit. And I think that between the Ard boys and the war boss, they'll be able to take that out. Meanwhile, in the center of the map, wow, crazy damage from this boomy platform going on here. The allied orc is not able to push up because of this Tower of Loathing, but in the same way, none of Chaos is able to push this way because of the boomy towers. What's the situation here? Warboss is taking a lot of damage. I can't select it, it's too close to everything. Hopefully the Warboss is doing fine, but it didn't go after these broadside battle suits. There's still a vehicle here and this listening post there. As strong as the Warboss is, I don't really see a way for it to survive. Tower of Loathing, slowly taking damage. I would have thought these flash gits would do more, but that's okay. We got commandos going on. I don't know what Trey's doing. He's building a settlement. I don't know why you would want that. Big and meanest generator, that's fine, I guess. We've got a bad dock. Okay. One bad dock for Trey. I think I can fast forward this a little bit more. Greenskins are going to build a listening post. Allied commander is pushing forward. Shouldn't be too much left here. It's just a question of if they can go into reasonable positions. Actually, this Weird Boy and Big Mech are being kind of wrecked by this troop transport. Please go take the relic on the high ground. Come on. Well, we can look here. 10 and 7, 4 and 1, 0 and 0. This faction is almost completely out of the game because they have this Tower of Loathing and this Tower of Loathing, and that's all the income that they're going to get. So you can see they're building a couple of witches. Trey's got good income. Trey has a ridiculous amount of power. I'd really like to see Trey build something. Now we're just waiting for the allied orc to build up his troops again, because Trey is spending a lot of money, but the meanest teleporter. Well, that's very interesting. What are you going to do with that, Trey? Let's find out. While that's being built, there is a big battle going on here. This Weird Boy's coming in. That's an Orc Psyker. I'm not seeing a lot of psychic power being used right now, but it's still quite a tanky unit. Finally, these Orcs are going to take out this relic, at least deny the income to the enemies. And where is this teleporter? What is this going to do? I don't know. Is anything going to go into the teleporter? The world may never know. Commando's coming out. We're now an hour into this game. Trey and his ally have fought long and hard, and now you can see they're about 2/3 of the way through it. And actually, I haven't seen this. I didn't realize that the strategic points themselves are running out. I've never had a game this long, so I didn't know that could happen. But the map is actively being mined out of resources. So now it's going to come down to who has more in the bank. Now, hold up. I see Trey here suddenly with 82 orc cap. What is going on? Where are these orcs coming from? It looks like it's going to be a Daka Stompa. Super Uber Shooty Stompa. Effective versus all. So this was ultimately the game plan, was to get the meanest teleporter. Excuse me, the meanest teleporter, and get this Daka Stompa to push through. I really like this as a plan. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. 96%. Show me. Show me the Daka Stompa. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, okay.
What's we gonna do with all this here?
So this Titan is more than enough to just destroy everything that's been built this entire game.
Let's go.
It's got 14,500 health.
This here.
Apparently it can direct spawn Slugger Boys. Really excited to see this go. Plus he's now backed up by 4 kilocans. This is the effigy of Gork and or Mork, a living god. I can't wait to see it.
We hope you like Daka, boss.
We hope you like Daka, boss. I do like Daka. In the meantime, you know, the Grot gang and this other bit of the Orkwa is doing very well. This is actually very lore accurate, because typically you get more and more boys coming and coming, and the higher the resistance is, the bigger war machines get built. Look at that.
It's the Killius.
Look at that damage. And the rate of fire is also insane.
What's we gonna do with all this here Daka, boss?
Very nice. You can see the health just getting chunked down.
You needs killing done. And we.
That's very satisfying. What a great way to end a WoW. By building a huge Daka Stompa, backed up now by all these Slugger Boys that it can spawn, these Flash Gets, Commandos. I really don't... I don't have any problems with how this is ended.
This here Daka, boss.
Just fast forward a little bit more, because now it's just watching the kaboom, watching the Daka go off. And I'm pretty happy with that. This was really fun to look at, so thank you to Trey for sending me this replay. If anyone has any replays that you want me to take a look at and potentially commentate, feel free to send them to me on YouTube or in the Discord, because I really enjoyed this. I used to do some casting when I played StarCraft 2, but it's been a long time, so I hope you enjoyed. I definitely did. Really, really enjoyed watching the Orks kill a bunch of stuff. So yeah, there's just 3 units left. Not 3 units, sorry, 3 buildings. Obviously there are no units left. GG to the Orks. We did it.
Let's get back into it.
I literally don't even know what the victory screen will look like. You annihilated the enemy? Perfect. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully I'll see you next time.